Go on YouTube and look for free tutorials of paintings. You don't have to be an artist to design your own paintings. Just look on Pinterest or YouTube. There's thousands of tutorials. Don't let that ever stop you. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be talking about some paint party tips. If you're a new instructor or you're trying to get into paint parties and just becoming a great teacher, then this is for you. So I am going to have 8 tips, a little bit about me. I've been doing paint parties since 2018 from my sister brand, Art XZ. And even though it was just something that I did on the side, I took it full time in 2021, and now I have private parties, I have corporate parties, and I have public parties at venues that I work with. So let's jump right into it. Have a good painting. So if you are an artist, which you don't have to be, if you are an artist, design a painting that would take you less than an hour. It could take you maybe an hour, 30 minutes, but you got to keep in mind that you will be teaching people. Even though it's a paint and sip or paint party, you will still be teaching people. And some people might be behind, some people might be, talking, eating, having fun and stuff. So you want to be able to finish it yourself in under an hour so that it's still like about an hour and a half, 2 hours for the people that's going to be painting. And another thing that you want to do is you want to actually look at how you're painting it or look at how you're designing it and make sure that it's easy to teach. So you want to avoid something that's super detailed. Even though it's going to look nice, leave that for people that can add details, or you tell them if they want at the party. Don't make it like required for everybody. So if you are not an artist, because anybody could teach paint parties, another thing that I did, since I came from a background of doing mostly portraiture art, is I would go on YouTube and look for free tutorials of paintings. You don't have to be an artist to design your own paintings. Just look on Pinterest or YouTube. There's thousands of tutorials. Don't let that ever stop you. Find a painting that you really like. Make sure it's an hour or less that you can actually do so that you get the hang of it. You have your practice painting and you already know the steps to teach it. And make sure that you have, the rights to teach this at a paint party, like licensing fees. Some people sell stencils like already outlined on Canva. Not Canva, on Etsy, YouTube, websites, Instagram, they're everywhere. Just look for stencils if you do not want to find a tutorial that's online or make your own. Just always make sure that you have permission, and you can also tweak it to make it fit your audience and yourself. Like there's some designs that I'll find on YouTube that I like, and I'll make sure it's, you got to steal like an artist. Even if you're not an artist, we don't steal from artists. So steal like an artist. That's just a saying that means make it your own. Don't copy it exactly as it is. Just make it your own. And if you are a beginner instructor, like please stay to the end. Make sure you look at the comments, so that you can get some free tracers that you can use for your paint parties. That's free 99. So the next tip is to plan the steps. So I touched on this briefly, but when you're planning the steps, what I like to do is I like to record my paintings just in case if I don't remember it, so that I can easily write like 6 or 7 steps down in my notes in case I'm teaching or somebody else is going to be teaching it, just so that I remember. For example, if we are painting, let me see real quick. So for example, this is an extra canvas that we have from a paint party. When you are planning the painting, you want to make sure that you know all the steps in advance. So for this one, I know they're going to paint the background first. And a pro tip that when you're teaching, you never want to make sure it's a painting. Well, not never, but if this happens, then just be prepared. But if they're painting the background, I don't want it to be a full picture where they have to wait for the background to dry before they start something else. So once they finish the background, they can move on to this, but I want to make sure that I have a structure. And learn from me. You don't want to tell people, oh, once you finish here, you can really work on every part of the painting. Sometimes I'll slip up and still do that in all my years, but you want to avoid that, because people are going to be like, so what am I supposed to do? Like, these people are beginners. They came here for fun or to learn a beginner-friendly paint party, a beginner-friendly painting. So when you're planning the steps, make sure you know what gets painted first, what gets painted second, and how they're going to paint. For example, when I told them to paint here, I was saying, don't worry about the black lines, because we're painting this cup tan. You'll be able to see underneath the black line. It'll still come back later. Oh, when you're making stars, you want to make sure that you're doing a cross and an X, make sure that you have all that laid down so that you're not freestyling, getting stressed. freestyling and getting stressed out as you're painting. My next tip is to be mobile, be on your feet. Make sure you got your good shoes so that you're rotating and just navigating throughout the whole party. Even though I like to have an easel so that everybody can see as I'm teaching, sometimes I'll pick the painting up and I'll move around and be like, hey, we're just putting some details here. We're painting, we're moving our brush back and forth here so that people can see up close, because a lot of people will be shy. Nobody's going to want to say, can you repeat that? Can you repeat that? Some people will, but not everybody will. One way you can keep track of time and make sure that you get the whole painting finished is I like to give a step and then set a timer for 5 minutes, especially if it's a new painting that I haven't done a lot of times, just so that you can keep up. I'll give the instructions, then I'll turn the music back up and I'll do check on everybody and be like, hey, so this is what we're doing. Make sure you repeat yourself. If you say something once, you're setting yourself up because people are going to be laughing, playing, not paying attention. So repeat yourself more than once and then make sure you go around to everybody and you tell them, hey, so remember, we're taking our large brush, we're going into this bright pink, and we're going back and forth on the canvas to blend it. And remember, once you finish with your paintbrush, you're gonna dip it in the water, wipe it back and forth on some paper towel and napkin, and then choose the next brush. And I'm repeating myself to a few people that I feel like might need help or I didn't get to. Another thing I like to do is I just like to get names. So most of the times I'll have activity, I'll do like trivia or some other icebreakers, but I like to be like, what was your name again? What was your name? You know, just so that I can call them by their name next time. You know, this is not, you don't want it to be just an event where, yeah, this is just a job I got to do. You want to actually connect with these people, especially if you want repeat customers and you want them to actually have fun. Like, imagine saying, hey, Zainab, that looks really cute. Hey, Zainab, say that again. And I'm like, you know my name? You remember my name? Okay. My next tip is to be a happy host. And I know it might not come easy for everybody, especially if you feel like you're introverted, because I called myself that at first. But you got to remember, this is a phrase that I thought about a lot from this podcast that I listened to. And what he said is, remember, when you're doing business, you are the train man. Like, I don't know if you guys watch The Matrix, but basically, this is your show. What are you nervous for? This is your event. You might see these people again, but you probably won't see every single one of them. This is your event. This is their first impression of you. Be hype. So I'll be like, hey guys, welcome to the paint party. Can I get a drum roll, please? Can we do this? Hey, y'all not hyping up? Oh, this is my song. And that's how I am already. But I'm thinking of the energy of the event. Like, you want to be 3 times more excited and more hyped so that people really feel it. You know, it's a paint party. We got to be hyped. And even if that's not you, just make sure you have a smile and you're giving real good advice to people, because this is a paint party where they're learning some painting tips. So just be happy, be energetic, make sure you encourage people. I always like to give positive feedback just because I just like to be a positive person. You know, you can't go wrong with positivity. I know some people say, don't tell everybody their painting is nice, because paintings are subjective, but I'll do that anyway. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so nice, because I genuinely think so. But what I will also do is give people advice if I feel like they might have messed up with something, or I'm looking at their faces and they're like, this doesn't look right. Or I'll just be like, oh, hey, how are we doing here? Oh, this looks nice. What do you think about that? You know, if I can obviously see that they're having a tough time, but I'm just going to be positive regardless. And sometimes people might say, oh, you're lying. You're just saying that to everybody. But I'll also offer like advice and encouragement if they genuinely don't think their painting looks nice. Another thing that helps with being a happy and energetic host is having icebreakers. I like to have little icebreaker cards that sometimes when it gets dry, or maybe there's a lot of people that came alone, I'll pick them up and I'll just ask them. And I'm like, hey guys, what's your favorite childhood memory? Or what's better, chocolate or strawberry ice cream? Or let's say it's a themed event, and like, for example, the 90s. I'm like, what was the best 90s show? And everybody's like, it was Keenan and Kel. It was this, it was that. You get what I'm saying? And what else? There's a lot of like icebreakers that I'll have just to pick up, and I'll ask, certain people, like, what do you think? Oh, I'll go first. This is this, this is that. Just be energetic. And especially if you have virtual events, amp up the energy, because they're virtual. They're looking at you through a screen. And a lot of times you will be talking to yourself. That's fine. You will be talking to yourself, but people will hear you, and they, she's not a dead host. She's very energetic, not very demure, but she's very energetic. We love her. we're not listening to her all the time, but we love her. The next tip is to make sure you are encouraging while you teach. Sometimes I'll hear people say like, oh, paint parties are so easy, especially if you have outline canvases. You just slap it down in front of them with the paint and you barely have to do anything. But that's not necessarily the case, which is why people pay for you to actually come out and instruct. You can give people brushes and paint, and they might not know that, oh, you need to put water in this paint for it to be more fluid. They might not know that, oh, you have to use this specific brush to paint, or, oh, you have to mix these colors. That's why we're here. That's why we're getting paid, because of our skill. And you can eventually learn this if you don't know this at first. So make sure you're building those skills. So remember that when you're a paint party instructor, you are an artist. You are an artistic instructor. So what I like to do is I like to show them, not do it for them. So I will tell them what to do, and it's rarely a last resort where I will actually do it for them because they asked, and I like to show them. You can do this by offering suggestions and asking questions instead of just doing it for them. A lot of times people will be like, oh, I don't like this. I don't know what I did wrong. This doesn't look right. And I'll be like, okay, well, what don't we like about it? And maybe it's the teacher in me. I'll be like, what don't we, or how are we feeling about this? But what don't we like about it? I don't know. I don't like the colors on this. And that's where you come in with your expertise, and you might say something. Well, maybe it's the contrast. Maybe this color just needs to be a little bit lighter. Try blue. Try adding a little bit of white to it. There we go. Oh, I made a mistake. How do I fix this? Oh, well, let's just put some paint on it. Let it dry. I'll get you a fan, and then we can redo it and make sure you circle back. So just making sure that you teach them. So just make sure that you're giving actual painting tips. You're encouraging creativity, because this is a paint party. Even if you have outline canvases or you're teaching something step by step from scratch, not everybody's painting is going to look exactly the same. You want to encourage them to be creative and put their own unique twist to it. For anybody who needs help, I'll go around with the painting. I'll say, for anybody that needs help blending, remember that we're going back and forth slowly with the canvas. For anybody that needs help making hearts, you're just going to make 2 circles and then a triangle underneath and combine it all out. And remember, when we're using our brushes, we're dipping it in the water to wash it out at the bottom, and then we're patting it dry on the paper towel. These are the tips that you're going around and saying, that you might not just say once or twice throughout the event, but you're repeating it. Somebody that might go to your events like every single time, I have a few people like that, they're going to start to like catch on and know. But remember that like most of the people in your event have probably never painted before or haven't painted in a long time. So you just want to repeat that so that they remember. Like, a lot of people forget you need water to make that paint move, but also if you use too much water, then it's going to be thin. Another tip, and I'll tell you guys this for free to save you a lot of heartache, is that people will forget that you need a second coat of paint. Sometimes the paint is thin. Even if you have quality paint, some colors like orange or like fluorescent pink is really thin, so you might need 2 coats, and you want to tell people that so that they're not sitting there getting upset. And then lastly, you always want to make sure that you specify the paintbrush and the color, because, and remember, we're always saying things more than once, because I'll pick up a large brush and say, using our large brush, we're going to go into paint. What brush are we using? What brush is that? So you're going to have to repeat it a bunch of times while you're teaching, just so that people know, like, oh, okay, we're using this brush. We're using tiny brush, we're using medium brush, or we're using the large brush. So here is another tip for dealing with negative Nancy's, because of course we will get negative Nancy's. Some people they just aren't feeling it. You can't blame them. Some people actually want it to come out nice, and they're not as concerned with the event being fun or the process. They want their painting to look nice, and rightfully so. They paid good money to get in here and learn some stuff. So as I said earlier, when people don't like their painting, I'll just be like, what don't we like about it? Well, I think this looks cute. Remember that you're still an instructor, you're still a teacher. So I'll just be like, oh, I really like the sun here. Oh, I like how you use this color. Okay, so what don't we like about it? And then they'll tell you. And then I like to show. Yeah, I like to show, not do. So just try to be like, okay, well, what if we use this color? I'll say, what don't we like about it? And then you can say, offer some advice and be like, okay, well, what if we use this color? What's your favorite color? Okay, what were we going for here? Should it be darker? Should it be lighter? You're offering your expertise, and they will answer. Sometimes it'll get to the point where it's at the end of the party and they're just like, I don't like how it looks. Oh, could you do this for me? And then I might step in, but rarely do I have to resort to that. Another tip that I have is breaks. And this could just be you going on for 2 or 3 songs without giving another instruction or doing an actual activity. Like I said, I like to do icebreakers or trivia during my events, and that would be like 15 minutes in the middle. But just make sure you have a break, because sometimes I like to think of it as this: when you're doing a paint party, think of it as a lecture for adults, or even like a class for children. Like, nobody wants to be doing the same thing for 2 hours straight. Just introduce a break, something fun, a little dance competition or anything that's appropriate, so that people can step back and then come back to their painting and be like, oh, this is really nice. Especially during the end, you'll see people get up. This is my favorite. This is one of my favorite parts of the party, where people get up and they all look at each other's paintings and be like, oh my gosh, come look at this. His painting is nice. Come look at her painting. Look what she did. This is nice. And that's when you get to see everybody's creativity. And it's just, oh, I love it. My last tip is for cleaning up. So at the end of the event, I would tell people that they can just put their napkins on their palette, which is a plate. And if they're leaving out and they're not taking pictures, that they could just take their cup of water. I like to have a bucket. Makes things so much easier. Take their cup of water and just pour it in the bucket so that it's easier for me. And sometimes after the group picture, about 10 minutes before the event is ending, I'll take a group picture, and then afterward, I'll slowly start to clean up. And I'll take the easels from people so that they can still paint, but the easels is gone. The music has turned down, so that now they're like, oh shoot, this is actually over, without pushing them and saying, get out, it's over. I never like to do that. Sometimes there'll be like that one person. I'll just be like, oh, I could put some paint, some paint pots for you so you can finish at home. Just try not to push people out. And these are my top tips for teaching a paint party. I hope all these tips were helpful. And if it was, please like, subscribe, and just share this video with anybody else that you know would love it. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Do not forget to download your free tracers. Bye.